WarRoom, Texas, where your host, Stephen K. Bannon, starts right now.
It's Tuesday, January 20th in the year of our Lord 2026. It is the first anniversary of President Trump's first year of the miraculous return. Colonel Keith Self joins us. Colonel, first off, we started this morning with the Secretary of Treasury in Davos live. We had him for about a half hour. And one of the things we talked about is the situation in Greenland and all this, but it underpins this issue about NATO and about the defense of the United States. And what underpins that is the national security strategy memo that came out that's 33 pages long. It's kind of an overview. It's required by law for the president to put it out, the commander in chief. He put it out in being 33 pages as an overview. He didn't really get to Europe until page 29. And I've told all my European colleagues when I've done interviews, that's a signal in and of itself. Inside the first paragraph on the 29th page, they talked about the issue of civilizational erasure. And one of the fundamental issues we have with NATO right now is we don't know where Germany and France and the Netherlands and Belgium and the United Kingdom are going to be. They actually say they don't know who's going to actually govern them in 20 years. Now, that is talking not just about their financial problems, but the financial problems that are based upon this unlimited migration they've had. Can you comment on that, sir, about this is a civilizational issue?
Absolutely, I can. In fact, in my subcommittee, I chair the Europe subcommittee on the Foreign Affairs Committee. I will have in the next few weeks, I will have a hearing on the mass migration, because the mass migration is part of the hybrid war that is going on in Europe today. China, Russia are importing these masses of people to basically change from a Christian civilization, a self-governing civilization, into something that represents chaos and it is to change them into tyranny, to put it bluntly. So yes, I can comment on it, and it is ongoing. And look, a ambassador, and I'm not going to name the ambassador and the chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee in a foreign country, a European country, just left my office. And I will tell you, they are very concerned about this. It's one of the conservative nations, because Europe as a whole may not be Europe in 10 to 20 years from now. Look at the UK, look at France. They are already fundamentally changed. In fact, I've asked, should the UK still be part of the Five Eyes intelligence program? The Five Eyes intelligence program are those closest allies that we share the most sensitive intelligence with. I'm not sure that the UK still deserves to get our most sensitive intelligence.
You know, this is exactly the reason we've launched WarRoom Texas. It's the reason we had this amazing conference that Glenn Beck helped us put on, and we had Gert Wilders. We had Gert Wilders for a reason. He was probably the Cassandra warning 20 years ago about what was happening. And we had Peter McIlvany from UK came over, and Peter told us after spending a week in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex area, he said, "Hey guys, I got a heads up for you." At the same kind of time frame in the beginning of this invasion in Britain, he says, "You guys are much farther gone." So connect, was it Commerce and McKinney, Texas, to what's happening in Europe. And this is the whole reason we started this show. We're trying to wake people up early enough that this situation could be handled, because all of my colleagues, and I've spent a lot of time and done a lot of business, a lot of finance in the United Kingdom and France particularly, the closest friends I've got there are saying, "Steve, this thing may be too far gone. There may not be any alternative than some sort of violent civil war." Colonel Self.
Yeah, I think you're referring to the invasion of Sharia law through the mosques, through the Muslims in North Texas. And yes, it is reaching a critical point. The number of mosques that are being built. Epic City, now renamed the Meadows, in my district in North Texas, 400 plus acres meant to be built around a large mosque, built to be a Muslim-only community. And you know what will happen next. There will be no-go zones for police, but this is a serious issue. And Steve, I can't tell you how fast this has moved just since you and I talked last. We now have a school district in the Dallas-Fort Worth area that had CARE the NGO of the Muslim Foundation sponsoring this event. It was going to be an Islamic event sponsored by them. Look, the state officials are all over it. I hope they can stop it. I hope they can put a stop to this. But then Joanne Fleming, who is one of the true conservatives in East Texas, just recently said that as she interviews candidates, what they are telling her is as they door knock now for that March 3rd primary, the number one issue they're hearing is Sharia, the invasion of Sharia into Texas. So it's moving fast. Look, the Commissioner's Court, back to Epic City, the Commissioner's Court said you have these problems with your application. But the application has already gone to the Commissioner's Court. Now, they pointed out some problems with it, but they will come back, and the Commissioner's Court will have to address this issue from a Collin County standpoint. So this is moving very fast. The indicators are starting to pour out. I hope that people are beginning to be aware of just how dangerous Sharia is in North Texas. I mean, think about that. Texas, rugged individualism is our hallmark. And yet Sharia is on the march in North Texas.
As I tell people, it was a couple of months ago we had this meeting, and we were there after the redistricting fight in Texas, and it was a group of people that had been instrumental in bringing that up to the governor's attention and fighting. And you joined that meeting, and you said, hey, this is the most important issue we have. And my understanding of your background, I said, man, if Keith Selth is saying that this thing is big, and then when I drilled down, it blew me away. Just give a second for audience, particularly people that are now joining War Room Texas. What are your bona fides? I mean, it's kind of serendipity or providential that it turns out that in this part of North Texas, north of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex area, they actually have a congressman with your background.
Well, thank you for asking, Steve. It starts out, I was in the embassy in Cairo, Egypt, back in the 80s. Spent 2 years there. That was when Mubarak was in charge. And frankly, Mubarak was having his security forces kick down doors and shoot the Muslim Brotherhood inside the room. That was when Mubarak in Egypt understood the danger of the Muslim Brotherhood. Then I worked with, while I was in Germany, I worked with the IDF in Israel. So I've seen both sides of the Palestinian issue there across the Egypt to Israel line. I'm actually one of the few people in Congress that has ever been through the Rafah Gate into Gaza and driven through Gaza. Now, it was years ago when the Rafah Gate was still open, but I'm one of the few people that's done it. Then I was in active duty in Afghanistan. I saw the tribalism there. I was in the Gulf with Central Command during the second Gulf War for Iraq. So I've got several years, and then I've traveled throughout the Middle East. So I've seen the impact of Sharia, because when you think about the countries that have been conquered by Sharia in the Middle East, they were not Sharia-based organizations and governments back 100 years ago, but they are today, which is why I have such optimism in Iran, because Iran is different than the other Arab Muslim nations. First of all, they're Persian, ethnic Persians. Secondly, they have an old and ancient civilization. Thirdly, they're Shia. Now, we think of Shia as being aggressive, but frankly, the Wahhabis under the Sunni sect are the more aggressive, the more jihadist. So I have great hope for Iran, because Iran could be pulled out of the Sharia Muslim orbit if we do things right, because they've got a civilization that's older than Islam itself.
Before I let you go, I know you got to bounce. You've got congressional duties today. People, given your background, given you've been seeing secular Islamic societies taken over by Sharia and turned into kind of radical societies, the pushback that we get is that, hey guys, this is really a religion, and you can't attack a religion in the United States of America. What is your response, Colonel Self?
My response, that is a great question. That is the key question, Steve, that you've asked. Sharia is a law, it's a culture, it's a civilization. It takes precedence over whatever law you have in your country. It takes precedence. It is the supreme law. It's not a religion. It's a law. It has a patina of religion. So frankly, what I say, even to the moderate Muslims that say, we simply want to pray or whatever, and I say, look, you are free to exercise your religion. You are not free to impose your religion on other people. Because if someone is walking their dog down the sidewalk, you cannot tell them they can't because it offends you. So my response to them is, frankly, I'm an infidel under Sharia. I'm an infidel. I am punishable by death if I do not submit to Sharia. They also have a tax that is no longer in vogue, but let's stick with the punishment by death. Frankly, these moderate Muslims are considered apostates. I'm an infidel, they're apostates. We are under the same rule under Sharia, which is punishable by death. So the moderate Muslims that give this argument to you, when the jihadis take control, they will be given the same choice that I have: submit to Sharia or face death. What are they going to do? Most of them will not abandon Islam. They will submit to Sharia. That's the problem we have going forward.
The state of Texas has been the most advanced in this. I can tell you from my time in the U.S. government, the one big failure I had is try to get the Muslim Brotherhood designated a terrorist organization. The firestorm that kicked off in the intelligence services, State Department, but even the Pentagon at the time, to me was shocking, and it made me even more focused on getting CARE and the Muslim Brotherhood designated. Governor Abbott, and for all the criticism of Governor Abbott, he did designate, even before President Trump did partially, and before Governor DeSantis, he designated the Muslim Brotherhood and CARE a terrorist organizations. He also sent Glenn Beck the other day, which we're going to play probably on Thursday's show, to say, hey, the law they passed for Sharia doesn't have enough teeth in it. He's going to get that. He's going to get more teeth in that. But there's a ballot initiative, Proposition 10 on 3 March, the primary, to ban Sharia law in Texas. In your mind, sir, how important is that?
This is absolutely vital. As you call Texas, we are the jewel in the crown of the United States. As Texas goes, so goes the nation. We lead the conservative states. California leads the progressive states. We must pass this. But Steve, not only must we pass it, I want to pass it with a huge margin, because this is simply a proposition. It doesn't hold any weight under the law. So I want to pass it with a huge margin so that the people speak very plainly to our state government. We must ban Sharia. We must do it in a strong way. We must make sure that there is no possibility for Sharia to take hold, because we're behind the power curve right now, Steve. So I implore the citizens of Texas, the voters of Texas, go out and vote for this, because it's important we pass it with a huge margin.
Colonel Self, where do people go for social media, your coordinates? Because you're putting up great material all the time. And where do they go for your site, your congressional site?
Well, my website is keithself.house.gov, keithself.house.gov. You can sign up for my newsletter, weekly newsletter. On social media, it's whatever the format is, Rep Keith Self, Rep Keith Self, whatever the format for that individual platform is. I would appreciate people coming and looking. This is an important issue. We intend to stay on it, Steve.
Well, we thank you for your leadership. I know the people down in Texas and your district appreciate it too. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Colonel. Appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, Steve.